Don McLean was born on October 2, 1945, in New Rochelle, New York, to a traveling salesman father and a stay-at-home mother whose family had emigrated from Abruzzo, Italy. His father's side had Scottish roots, and Don was named after both his father and grandfather, making him the third Donald McLean in the family. From the time he was 5, music fascinated him. He spent hours listening to Bing Crosby records and radio hits, dreaming of one day becoming a singer. His childhood, however, was marked by hardship. Severe bronchial asthma often left him bedridden for weeks, unable to breathe or attend school. Lonely and isolated, he found comfort in his mother's care, and in learning to play the guitar. McLean later said that his illness saved him. Without it, he might have ended up living a dull life, working at a bank, and drinking himself to death. At 13, a tragedy struck that would shape his most famous song. On February 3, 1959, while delivering newspapers, he read the headline announcing the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper. The loss devastated him and inspired the line that would later define American Pie. 2 years later, another heartbreak hit when his father died suddenly of a heart attack. Don was only 15 and home alone when it happened. Though it broke him, he later admitted that his father's death freed him to pursue his musical ambitions, something his father had never supported. Despite their financial struggles, McLean's family encouraged his passion. His sister helped pay for voice lessons, and at 16 he bought his first guitar from a local shop called the House of Music, later immortalized in his lyrics as the Sacred Store. His vocal training gave him remarkable breath control, a skill that became evident in his later performances. Bold and ambitious, McLean cold-called well-known folk artists he found in the phone book, including Eric Darling of the Weavers, who invited him into the New York folk scene. At 18, McLean briefly attended Villanova University, but dropped out after 4 months to join folk legend Pete Seeger in his environmental campaigns, particularly the Hudson River Project. During a 1969 river trip with Seeger, McLean wrote songs that would appear on his debut album, Tapestry, recorded in Berkeley amid student riots. Rejected by 72 labels before its 1970 release, the album slowly gained traction through college radio. By 1971, United Artists had signed McLean and re-released Tapestry, which finally reached the charts. Around that time he began writing American Pie, a song he spent 2 years perfecting. When it was released in 1971, its 8.5-minute length made radio stations hesitate, but once it hit the airwaves, listeners flooded stations with requests. It became a cultural phenomenon, topping charts in January 1972, and selling millions of copies. Fans obsessed over the cryptic lyrics, and within months, dozens of covers appeared in multiple languages. McLean performed to sold-out arenas, including a legendary Hollywood Bowl concert, where fans sang the song back to him in unison. The same album also featured Vincent, a tender tribute to Vincent van Gogh written in a cafe near the Museum of Modern Art. Though initially dismissed by radio DJs, it became a global hit. The success earned McLean millions in royalties, and he purchased a grand Victorian mansion, an extraordinary leap from his earlier life of financial struggle. Yet even amid wealth and fame, grief and depression haunted him. American Pie, he said, wasn't just about the loss of Buddy Holly, but also the loss of his father and his childhood. In 1972, McLean released Dreidel, a cleverly structured song mimicking the motion of a spinning top. Despite its unusual rhythm, it reached the Billboard charts, proving he was more than a one-hit wonder. His 1973 song The Pride Parade criticized the commercialization of the music industry, showing his growing frustration with fame. That same year, an audience member named Lori Lieberman was inspired by his performance of Empty Chairs to write the song Killing Me Softly, later made famous by Roberta Flack. McLean's 1974 album Homeless Brother was an expensive artistic gamble that failed commercially, costing nearly $500,000 to produce. Later albums under Arista Records also struggled. By the late 1970s, it seemed his musical relevance was fading. But in 1980, his cover of Roy Orbison's Crying unexpectedly revived his career after it became a hit in Europe and then in the United States. Orbison himself praised it as the best version he had ever heard. The accompanying album Chain Lightning, recorded in Nashville, went gold, proving McLean could still connect with audiences. In the 1980s, he turned toward country music, releasing Love Tracks in 1988. Although the songs charted modestly, critics found them too polished. He also recorded film themes, including one for The Flight of Dragons, and continued touring successfully across Europe and Australia. By the end of the decade, McLean's records had sold over 40 million copies worldwide, though legal battles over royalties with MCA Records overshadowed much of his success. In 2003, exactly 40 years after John F. Kennedy's assassination, a moment that had once inspired McLean to pursue music, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. American Pie had by then been voted one of the greatest songs of the 20th century. Yet new albums like Headroom failed to find audiences, and as the musical landscape shifted toward grunge, McLean's nostalgic ballads felt out of place. In 2003, he surprised fans again with a children's album, You've Got to Share, recorded with his children Jackie and Wyatt. It received a Grammy nomination and showcased his enduring creativity. Over the next 2 decades, he maintained a steady career, receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2021, placed deliberately near a restaurant named the Pie Hole. The honor marked the 50th anniversary of American Pie, a song still generating hundreds of thousands in annual royalties. Yet behind his public success lay deep personal turmoil. McLean's first marriage to Carol Savian in 1969 ended just 3 years later amid rumors of infidelity. In 1987, he married photographer Patricia Schneier, and they had 2 children. By the 1990s, the family had settled on a sprawling estate in Camden, Maine, but the household, according to Patricia and their daughter Jackie, was marked by fear and control. They described him as domineering and volatile, dictating every aspect of life, from cars and furniture to emotional expression. On January 18, 2016, Patricia called 911 in the early morning hours, claiming McLean had assaulted and terrorized her. Police found visible bruises, and McLean was arrested and charged with 6 offenses, including domestic violence assault and criminal restraint. He later pleaded guilty to 4 lesser charges in exchange for avoiding jail time, paying over $3,600 in fines and agreeing to counseling. The incident destroyed his image as a gentle folk icon. Patricia filed for divorce soon after, alleging years of verbal and emotional abuse. She described being subjected to slurs and humiliation, saying she lived in fear of his temper. McLean denied her claims, insisting he loved his family and accusing her of exaggeration. Nevertheless, his concerts were canceled, his tours postponed, and in 2019 UCLA revoked a Lifetime Achievement Award following public backlash.